ונפשי אם שני שלוים אני שלוים וכי אדבר הימה ומלחמה
Kufchaf Aleph, Shem Aleph, Sasayin Ayala, Yimayin, Vazri. Azri, Yimanda, Yiseh, Shemayim, Varetz. Ayitin Amoid Raglecha, Ayanu, Shemirecha. Yinela Yonu Vela Yisha, in Shemeh Yisrael. Anai Shemirecha, Anai Tzilcha, Ayad Yiminecha. Yema Hashem Shleyakecha, V'yareyach Ba'layla. Ayina Yishmercha Mikol Ra, Yishmar Et Nafshecha. Ayina Yishmar Et Tzilcha V'yecha, Minata V'yadelam.
Kufchaf Beis. Shir Malay, so David's Machli by Memli, Beis Adinai Nelech. I'm the Sayyid Raglain Bishara, Yech Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim Abnei Kirshe Shechubrala, Yachtav. Sheshama Lushevatim Shifta Yadis L'Yisrael, Haida, Is L'Shem Adonai. Ki shama yashvu chisas l'mishpat, kisas l'veis David. Shalu shalom Yerushalayim shlayu ayavayich. Yishal mechelach shava b'yamanei sayich. Amanach ivrei adaber nashalim bach. Aman beis adinai elihei nu avak shetayv lach.
Shia Malay, Selechon Asasi Esainai, Haishvi Vashamoyim. Hinei, Chene Afadim, Yaradinayhem, Kini Shimcha, Yad Givito, Kini Nenu, Adinai Elheinu, Achi Chanenu. Chanenu, Adonai Chanenu, Kirav Savanuhuz. Rabbi Savalon Hasheinu, Alag Hashashanim, Habuz, Ligayonim.
Shem Aleph, David, Adonai Shayalanu, Yomana Yisrael. Adonai Shayalanu, become Aleinu Adam. Azai Chayim Bolanu, Charois Apam Bonu. Azai Amayim Shetafunu, Nachla Bal Nafsheinu. Azai Abar Al Nafsheinu, Amayim Hazudinim. Baruch Adonai Shleina Sanu Terem L'Shteinayim. Nafsheinu Ketzipor Nemoto Bipaki Kayisha Mipak Mishbar Vanachnu Mtanu. Ezreinu b'shem Adonai, Yoseh Shemayim v'oretz.
Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzas rishayim uv'derech hata'im lo amad v'moshav leitzim lo yashav ki im besoras Adonai chavtzo uv'besoraso yehge yomam v'layla v'haya ke'etz shasul al palge mayim asher peryo yitain bi'ito ve'alehu lo yibol v'chol asher ya'aseh yatzliach Lochen ha-rishayim ki im kamotz asher tidefenu ruach al ken lo yakumu rishayim b'mishpat v'chatayim ba'adas tzadikim ki yodeh Adonai derech tzadikim v'derech rishayim toved Mizmor LeDavid Adonai roi lo echsar binos deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchos yinahaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'magle tzedek l'ma'an shemo gam ki elech b'geit tzalmaves lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya achtov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveis Adonai la'orech yamim. We've gathered here today to show kavod achron, to pay our final respects to Rabbi Shlomo Stein, Shlomo Yitzchak ben Pesach Ruvain. Rabbi Stein was a tzaddik. He was a master mechanech, a genuine Eved Hashem, a gentle, warm, and friendly person whose very presence and demeanor was a constant Kiddush Hashem. Rabbi Stein was born in Chicago 82 years ago, and the lifelong lessons he learned there would help shape the incredible person that he would become. His parents, Reb Pesach Stein and his Rebbitzin, were pillars of the community, actively encouraging Shmira Shabbos in a time where unfortunately that couldn't be taken for granted, and facilitating kashrus by opening up the first kosher restaurant in Chicago. Rabbi Stein grew up in a home where he saw Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit, and he learned firsthand that true chinuch is accomplished by modeling and showing more than talking and discussing. Rabbi Stein was privileged to learn in some of the greatest yeshivas, Torah Vadas, Telz, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Elchanan. He learned under some of the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of the past century, Rav Gedalia Shor, Rav Shlomo Hyman, Rav David Lifshitz, Rav Elia Meir Blach, Rav Matal Katz, Rav Yashaber Soloveitchik. And from his parents and his Rebbeim, he got a glimpse of what it means to give of yourself to others, that your emunah can be transmitted to others by example. Rabbi Stein's first taste of chinuch began early when he was a teenager, leading starim in his parents' restaurant. That would lead to his formal involvement in chinuch for over 50 years in Minneapolis, Harrisburg, and finally in Baltimore, teaching boys at TA, boys whom he loved like his own Einaklach, and any observer could tell that the feelings were mutual. He was a member of our shul, Shomrei Emunah, for over 30 years, a contributing member, whom Rabbi Bach asked to fill in for him when he would go away. Rabbi Stein's life was a life of chinuch. It wasn't just a job for him. It was a calling. It was his life. The Ramban writes that our Mesorah is kept alive, not as pieces of information that are physically transferred to other people, but as a Toras Chaim, a living message, real life ideas and ideals that are given to others through real people, transmitting the Torah through the lives that they lead, copying what they are to other people, leading by example. The Ramban writes, "V'na'atik hadavar el banenu, uvnehem livnehem, uvnehem ledor acharon." And that was the life of Rabbi Stein, a life of chinuch, a life of a machanech, teaching by modeling the Ratzon Haborei in every breath he took, in every move he made, every daf Gemara he lovingly turned, and every Talmud that he lovingly taught. The Tashbetz writes that when the Mishnah in Avos says, Hu haya omer, he would say, what it means is that through the consistency of his actions, he taught this lesson. That's true chinuch. The true way to teach other people is through actions. And that's the legacy of Rabbi Stein. And that's why he was so successful. He was real. He lived what he taught, and he taught by living. Rabbi Stein's greatest nachas was seeing the message of emunah, of the Torah's chayim, internalized and continued by his children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and by his talmidim. He made a profound impact on the world, and he will be missed terribly by all of us who loved and respected him. The Baltimore community is left with a very deep void by his patira. May we, who have been touched by his inspiration, rededicate ourselves to Avodas Hashem in his memory, to fill the deep void that is left in a world without the tzaddik, Rabbi Stein. Rashi writes in his Perush on Chumash that chinuch is lashon haschala. Rabbi Stein, as a master mechanech, truly began something very special, and it is now our job to continue that legacy. May he be a melitz yosher for his wonderful family, his beloved wife Ruth, his dear children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and for all of us, the entire Baltimore Kehillah, who loved him so much. Before I close, I would like to tell his wife and his children that their complete devotion to Rabbi Stein during his years of ailing health serves as a chinuch lesson for all of us. Rabbi Stein was a very grateful person, and he told me many times how fortunate he was by the devotion that his family showed to him and how much he appreciated it. Ubila hamaves lanetzach, umacha Adonai Elohim dima, me'al kol panim. I'd like to ask his son Hillel to deliver Divrei Hesped.
How does one encapsulate 80 plus years of someone's life into just a few minutes of a hesped? But the zechiv, as a son, as the bachar, that I must try to be master my father properly. It says in Tehillim, Meishnosim behem shivim shana, v'im begvuros shmonim shana. What is the type of begvuros with strength? In common day lingo, we would think Vuros means a strong man, someone who can lift weights and do lots of things. That's not what David HaMelech meant in Tehillim. Our father, for the past almost 25 years, since 1988, physically has not been the same as he was when I remember him way back when. He went through a lot, a brain tumor, very bad heart condition, balance problems, walking problems, and yet he was a man of intense gevura, because mentally, spiritually, with his ruchnius, he was a giant among us all. And maybe the fact that he was a little bit ailing physically, that's what brought out the inner so much, that we appreciated him so much. The Gemara in Sukkah says that when there's a solar eclipse, it's a bad omen for the Welt. And the Gemara brings down there in Sukkah that one of the reasons is that there's an Av based in that's nifter in the community and they're not properly eulogizing him, giving the hesped that he deserves. Because of that, the area, the community gets an einish and they see this omen, an eclipse. The Maharsha says on the daf there, he says very beautifully that the Av based in is like a sun. The sun in the sky, it illuminates, it gives heat and warmth, and it benefits large areas. So to the Av based in, he is one that goes out, whether it's psak halacha or learning with the community or by following in the ways, in what he does, the community follows his ways. And if the community doesn't do the proper thing, there's a bad omen. So who is our Av based in? Our father, our Av. Our father, he was for us, he was that sun, he was that illumination. He gave us the warmth, the care, the understanding. Whenever we needed eitzah, whenever we needed a question, whenever we needed anything, it was our Father that we went to. Look what I lost, what my brothers and my sisters lost, and my mother lost, and the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. His unbelievable warmth for Yiddishkeit and for all of us as a family. And it started out way back when in his chinuch days in Minneapolis, Minnesota, through Harrisburg and Baltimore. And to the very end, he was machanech in TA with the boys in the resource room, learning with them Kriya. And he had so many chavrusas, so many different gemaras he was learning with constantly, the people that came to the house to learn with him. His influence was felt by thousands and thousands of Talmidim worldwide. There is a hole in my heart, and I'm sure the same thing applies to everybody sitting in this overpacked room. All of us have a hole in our heart. But what can we do? My brothers and myself will be saying Kaddish for the next 11 months. But when you look at the essence, what is Kaddish all about? It doesn't seem to be saying anything about the nifter, about life and death. It just extols the virtues of the Eibishter. So the pshat I saw is, very beautifully, is that our Father, with all his midas tovos, with the learning that he used to do, the chasadim and the mitzvos, he has left a very big void in the world. And Hashem Yisbarach and Shemayim is going to be looking for those presents coming up constantly from our Father. And they're not coming anymore. It's up to us, especially us that say the Kaddish, we have to extol the virtues of Hashem Yisbarach. And in that way we can try in a little bit to try to fill the void that is now in the world. And that will be the biggest nechama for our Father. Of course, we ask mechila on behalf of myself, my wife, for anything that we may have done intentionally or unintentionally. But my father, above all, he was a very big anav. And I'm sure that he does not even realize that we might have done anything wrong. I'm sure I'm about there and he was meichel right away. And I just want to end by saying, I want to be market tov to the entire Baltimore community, especially to my brothers and their families, Usher and Aryeh, who in the last few years were very attentive to all his needs, picking him up, taking him to Minyan, and being there for my mother. May our Father be a melech yasher for all of us, and especially to my mother, that she could have the kaiches to continue to be the matriarch of the entire family.
His son Asher will share some divrei hesped. When I try to teach about the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash to the different students or campers, I tell them we cry, we sit on the floor, we act differently. They look at me and they say, well, why? Why am I crying? They don't know. It's difficult to mourn for something that you don't know you lost. Many of you in this room are here, all of you in this room are here to pay respects to my father. To cry. Why are you crying? I want to spend a couple minutes giving you some examples why we need to cry today. Boys at TA will not have that tremendous teacher and role model that my father was to them every day he stepped foot in those hallways and those doors. A link to the previous generation of Gedolim, great teachers and rabbis, is now missing. When my father saw any of these boys in shul, he would say, Asher, that's my Talmud. And I say to myself, a Talmud? I say to myself, Dad spent 10 minutes with these kids, and he calls them my Talmidim. How could that be? That's what a master teacher does, spends 10 minutes, and even if it's just for those 10 minutes, they become a student. This is a reason why we cry today. At a time when Kiev was not the in thing, my father did Kiev, not like we might know. Have a Shabbos meal with people, a Pesach Seder. Dad was always reaching out. It might have been playing sports, it might have been his involvement in community affairs, but it was another way to show that, yes, I'm an Orthodox Jew, but I love all Jews. Why are we mourning? Why are we crying? Because there's one less person in the world to do what my father did. That's why we cry today. You want to know what a mensch is? No, a real mensch. I know the definition of a true mensch, and the mensch's name is Shlomo Yitzchak Stein. If you're not sure how to act like a mensch, just ask any one of his children, any one of his talmidim, anybody at Shomer Emunah, anybody who lived in Harrisburg, anybody who lived in Minneapolis. They'll say, Rabbi Stein, that was a mensch. Good morning, and how's your family? Thank God I'm here. No complaints from Dad. His concern was for everybody around him. The respect he gave for everybody else was more than he would ever want for himself. Why are we mourning? Why are we crying today? Because there's one less person like my father in this world. The tremendous loss that we have suffered as a family is in actuality your loss as well. We cry for our father, and you cry for your loss, the loss to the Jewish community. We have lost our patriarch, our role model, a husband, brother, father, chavrusa, and Zaidi. You have lost a member of the Jewish community that will not easily be filled. It's not I want, but I need to ask my father for forgiveness, for not treating him properly. Should have been better, could have been better. I beg my father to plead to Hashem on behalf of my entire family. Hashem will eliminate death forever, and my Hashem will erase tears from all faces. His son Aryeh will deliver Divrei Hesped. Dad, I miss you so much. I miss you so much already. The doctors had said that your heart was operating at 20% capacity for several years. How wrong they were. I've never seen a person's heart used to its fullest potential. My father loved everyone with a complete heart, whether it was his children, whether it was his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, the Tzuga Kimmeners. Again, like my brother said, the Talmidim who he spent just a few minutes with the TA, he loved them all with a full and complete heart. It's thousands of Talmidim over the years. One just came over to me just before. He's a Talmud from the later days. He's an older person, and he remembers when Dad used to give the shiur at Shomer Emunah in Rabbak's absence. Dad could relate to a 2-year-old or to an 82-year-old, to a 90-year-old. Dad had the ability to relate to every person. Oh, and how he loved his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He never wanted to miss an opportunity to learn with them, whether it was Gemara, whether it was Mishnayos, whether it was just Aleph Beis, whether it was just reading a book to them on his lap.
The joy that he had from that was boundless. And his love wasn't just for people and children, it was for the Ribono Shalom and his Torah. Just yesterday when I came home from the hospital, came to the house, wanted to clean up a little bit, and there on the table were 4 Gemaras, 4 different Masechtas. My father was learning 4 different Masechtas at the same time, some with different chavusas, some as a schus for his children, for his grandchildren. I have trouble keeping up with one, and my father was able to juggle 4 Masechtas in his state. Unimaginable. My father's big heart